Hello and welcome to AdPath channel. I am Augustus. In the previous video, India Wins Freedom Part 1, I have given you the definition of freedom. I have discussed with you what is the importance of freedom in our life. Apart from this, we have discussed how India was land of richness, why it was the attraction for rest of the world, how and why it was called as golden sparrow by the rest of the world, how Europeans came to our country, how they established firm foundation in our country, and finally we have seen the revolt of 1857, which is known as the first independent war. Today in this video we are going to discuss various other points, and let me give you first and foremost the outline of the topic that we are going to cover up in this video. The first point that we are going to discuss in this video is about the emergence of new ideas, new awakening, establishment of Indian National Congress, the establishment of Muslim League, the period of repression, Salt Satyagraha, demand for Pakistan, Quit India movement, and finally how India wins freedom. So as I discuss with you, you will be seeing point by point on the screen. So stay tuned and watch this video till the end. So without much delay, let's begin today's topic. The first point we are going to discuss is about emergence of new ideas and new awakening. We have seen the revolt of 1857 where Indians were defeated badly. But this defeat did not diminish the spirit of patriotism. On the contrary, it gave rise among the Indians to be united, to fight against Britishers. So they came together, especially political leaders and religious leaders, and they formed so many bodies. So we can see Brahma Samaj, founded by Raja Ram Mohan Rai, Ramakrishna Mission, founded by Swami Vivekananda, Anglo-Arabian Society, founded by Sir Syed Ahmad, Prarthana Samaj, founded by Pandit Madan Mohan Valviya, Servant of India Society, founded by Sri Gopal Krishna Gokhale. So these thinkers all together gave rise to the spirit of patriotism. So all these thinkers set the new ideas, new horizons for our country, and this gave dynamism and spirit of patriotism more and more among the Indians. Apart from this, we see during the time of Governor General Lord Dalhousie, the various public amenities were facilitated, such as railways, modern road, and postal service. And the medium of instruction was English, which was already set 20 years ago. So all this gave some understanding and unity among the Indians, and especially the leaders understood the ways and means of the administration of the Europeans, and that is how they started demand for the freedom. We see the Indians were considered as the inferior, and that is why S.N. Banerjee was also an Indian civil service servant, but he was not given the same status as that of Britishers. And also we see how our national song was banned, which was composed by Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay. Now let's see the next point, the establishment of Indian National Congress. The Indian National Congress was formed in order to organize people. The political leaders came forward to constitute a solid body in order to organize people and to bring forward for the movement. And this was formed on 20th December 1885 under the guidance of retired British officer A.O. Hume. So the demand of this particular body, Indian National Congress, was to The point number one, it was the demand for the local self-government. And another demand was the rise of Indian officers in the higher posts. But the British did not approve, did not accept, and Indians were not promoted to the higher post, neither they were given local government. Later on, when Lord Curzon came as Governor General of India in 1899, he divided Bengal in two parts under the pretext of good administration. But this was actually meant to divide Hindus from Muslims. And for this, so many political leaders came and they started revolt against Britishers. We can see Bipin Chandra Pal, Lala Lajpat Rai and Tilak. They were arrested, and especially Bal Gangadhar Tilak was considered as the father of unrest, and he was jailed in Burma, Myanmar, and he was released later in 1914. After his release, he worked for the betterment of the people. He organized people. He get into political activities again, and till his death, he worked for the betterment of our Indians, and he died. Now let's see the establishment of Muslim League. Why Muslim League founded? British always wanted that they should divide Hindus from Muslims. So their idea was to rule our country for a long time. So finally, they had this trick and they succeeded, and Muslim League came into existence in 1906. And this body, this league was more of played by Britishers, who always separated Hindus from Muslims, and they reserved seat for Muslims in elections. So that is how this body or this league was formed. Now let's see the next point, that is the period of repression. In 1916, the Muslim of Turkey reacted against Britishers, and this gave rise unrest in India as well. So Muslim in India also started agitating against Britishers. So they started Khilafat Andolan, which was against Britishers. So naturally, Congress also started agitating against India. So there was home movement in India as well. So this gave rise among the unity among Hindus and Muslims, and they came together. And in order to suppress this kind of movements, Britishers came with a new rule that is known as Rowlatt Act. So the idea of this rule is anyone who is suspected of anything will be arrested without any investigation, without any queries and questions. So in order to suppress the voice and the demand of the Indians, the British came with this idea of Rowlatt Act. Now let's see the next point, that is the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. The Jallianwala Bagh massacre took place on the day of Baisakhi on 13th April 1919. So many people gathered in this place for peaceful meeting, but when Britishers came to know, they came with their weapons and fired and killed so many thousands of people who were innocent, who were having peaceful meeting, and this gave rise again unrest and agitation among Indians. As a result of Jallianwala Bagh massacre, Gandhiji came forward again, and in 1920 he started non-cooperation movement. He said that all Indians must boycott Britishers, their officers, their things, their work. And he said if Indians do not help, then even a day Britishers would not be able to run the administration. So people started coming, and at this time there were so many young leaders who emerged and they were leading our Indian people. Among them we can say some, we prominently see Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev and Rajguru, those who were later tried and hanged to death. Let's see the next point, that is Salt Satyagraha. Gandhiji broke the Salt Act and started civil disobedience movement, and the British has to repeal the Salt Act in 1960. Now the next point that we are going to see is about demand for Pakistan. How India was divided into two parts, Hindustan and Pakistan. So by now the war in Turkey came to an end and Britishers started wooing the Muslims in India, and they persuaded Muslims to form separate state, and by this time Muhammad Ali Jinnah was the leader of the Muslim League. So he demanded for the separate state, and in 1937 when there was election, the Indian National Congress won 8 provinces out of 11, and they formed ministries. But later on, when World War II broke in 1939, ministers has to resign, and at this time Britishers asked Indians to join in the British army to fight in the Second World War, but Indian leaders were hesitating to participate in the Second World War. Now let's see the next point, that is Quit India movement. Very famous. I hope all of you are aware of this. This Quit India movement started in 1942, and at this time Muhammad Ali Jinnah openly came forward for the demand of new state Pakistan. The British rulers banned the Indian National Congress as an illegal party and started arresting the leaders. During the Quit India movement, when leaders were arrested, Subhash Chandra Bose escaped to Germany, and then he went to Japan and formed Azad Hind Fauj, Indian National Army. He formed this army and started attacking Britishers from Japan, and he came up to Manipur. But suddenly in an air crash he died. Now let's finally see the last point, that is India wins freedom. So finally India won the freedom in 1945, but there was a sad moment as well, because our country divided into two parts, Pakistan and Hindustan. So the Congress party tried to persuade Jinnah to give up the idea of new state, but finally under the Lord Mountbatten, so under his guidance, India was divided into two parts, India and Pakistan. And Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was the first Prime Minister of our country, and C. Gopalacharya was the first Governor General of independent India. So in this way we have seen the freedom struggle of our country, how British is exploited, how Indian struggles, how they paid a price for the freedom. The story of freedom struggle is inspiring. It was struggle against injustice, it was struggle against imperialism, it was struggle for the demand of equal status and rights. We have seen this struggle was so long, and our freedom fighters have paid for this. So as we read, let's give our wholehearted tribute to the freedom fighters who fought and acquired freedom for us. Today we are living in free atmosphere due to their effort and due to their sacrifice. So as we read this chapter, as we learn these ideas, stories and incidents, we have to set new horizons for the rest of the world. So let us try and fulfill the dreams of our freedom fighters. Our freedom fighters' dream is that to set our country with peaceful atmosphere, set our country that there should be no injustice, there should be no exploitation, there should be equal rights, there should be rule of land, there should be health care, there should be education, there should be no poverty existing in our country. So these are the few dreams our freedom fighters, our forefathers wanted. So let's come together and strive to build our nation in unity, integrity, and there should not be any kind of biasness and divisions on the basis of religion, caste and creed. So let us strive for that. And we know that these struggles said that there was no fearless atmosphere later on. Even at the cost of their life, they came forward and they sacrificed their life. So that is why this gave rise to a new way of struggles from the rest of the world to fight against injustice and exploitations. So that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed and you gained something from this video. Thank you.